Here I come. That violin is sick, isn't it? Okay. That violin is so sick, isn't it? Good morning, Sheed. That's who we have in the chat room right now. I appreciate you being here. Can you hear me okay, Sheed? We'll send that to voicemail. Am I clear? Yes, okay, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. It's your girl, Rain Woman. Welcome back to all of my returning supporters. And welcome to all of my new supporters. You guys are inching me along, just inching me along in my growth, and I really, really appreciate it. Hello, Celine. Greetings. So, y'all, I'm going to tell you first of all, before I get really into this, if you have any insecurities, and if you are really sensitive about anything right now, this really may not be what you want to hear, because I am not going to be all that sensitive prone. Okay, I'm just not. All right. So, good morning, Donna. So that's where I'm at with it, y'all. I just think that it is high time that we overcome some of these things. And right now, our reigning woman is over it. And y'all, let me tell you, I am so over the Smiths right now. Like, I am over them. Like, can anybody tell me? First of all, how y'all doing? Are y'all doing all right? Y'all tell me in the chat how y'all doing. I'll be looking at the chat to see how y'all doing as I am, getting into my thing here, okay? But I do want to know, how you guys are doing and if you're doing all right. My Hebrew brother, K. Judah, good to see you. See family in the house. Okay, so can anybody tell me, when is the last time we was talking about Will and Jada Smith? Was anybody talking about them prior to the Oscars? Anybody? I don't think we were. I don't think we were really. I didn't hear anybody talking about the red table talk. I didn't hear. I mean, none of the recent. Like, they just wasn't in our mouths lately, right? And honestly, I believe that may be what the problem is, right? Like, I believe that whenever we're not talking about them, they have to do something to get us talking about them. Like, I feel like the Smiths want the world and the media to be tuned in to the Jada and Will Smith show. So, I mean, so y'all want our attention. So let's just go ahead and continue to give it to you. But it's not going to be positive coming from me. It's not. It is not going to be positive outcome from me. I do not agree. Listen, I'm going to talk about this again on my women's channel, because I got something I want to say for the women, to the women, and for the women. All right. But right now, this is universal. So, I don't agree with Will Smith thinking that it is okay to assault someone over a joke. I do not think that that is protection. I think that's stupid. Okay, I think it's stupid. And I don't think Will Smith would have done that with just anybody else. I don't. I think it was bigger than the joke. And but either way, it's really, to me, it is not okay. And I don't like the message that it is sending out, which is the only reason why I'm up here talking about them, because honestly, I am so uninterested in both Will and Jada Smith. Excuse me, let me change that around. I am very much uninterested in the Jada and Will Smith, because at this point, I completely believe that Jada is the man in the relationship. Jada is running the show, and Will is just there. I don't know. I feel like Will Smith dropped his nutsacks somewhere along the way, and he has no idea where to go back and recover them, because they've been gone for so long. I don't think Will Smith knows how far to backtrack his steps to go get his nuts. But him slapping Chris Rock was not a show of nuts. It was a show of being nuts, but it was not a show of having nuts. Big difference. Good morning, all heart really ground. I'll drop it. I will drop my women's channel in the chat before I get out of here. Okay. I think that if anyone talks to me, if y'all ever talk to me on the phone, and people like, and if people are talking about something that someone's done, and they're like 30 plus, I will always ask the question. I'll be like, how old are we? How old are they? Like, this is what we're doing in our 40s, in our 50s, and above. That's what we're doing. So Will Smith is in his 50s. Jada in her 50s. This is what we're doing. This is the Oscars. I don't even watch the Oscars. I stopped watching these kind of ceremonies a long time ago. I am very much uninterested in their whole ceremonies. I think a lot of it is ritualistic. I just don't like it at all. But I got a text message from one of my friends. I got a text from one of my friends saying, hey, his daughter was going to be performing for the Oscars, right? So I'm excited. I'm like, oh, wow, hey, okay, I know a girl is doing her thing, right? Matter of fact, though, so I was going to try to tune in just so I could watch, but then I thought, no, I am so uninterested in the Oscars altogether that I'd rather just catch maybe a clip and a replay, like just where I can just see her do her thing, however she's doing her thing, and I don't have to be bothered with the rest of it. But people were just talking about Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada, Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada. So I couldn't help but check it out because everyone's talking about the snap, right? And now I'm gonna tell you, I'm actually low key. No, I'm not low key. I'm high key pissed that I can't even find my friend's daughter's performance because they're not talking about nothing except besides Jada and Will Smith. And let me tell you something about Jada. Jada's a witch. Jada, I don't care what nobody says at this point. Listen, Jada is a witch. She done put some witchcraft vajay on Will Smith, and that's why he don't have no nuts right now. That's why. That's why he's always crying. This Negro can cry at the drop of a dime like a fish. This Negro can cry on cue. Y'all don't trust Will Smith's tears. Please don't. Please don't get caught up. Please do not get caught up in that man's tears. After Jada Pinkett Smith came out with her whole entanglement thing and August Alsina, entanglement, and Will Smith was on at the table crying, and all the memes came out, people sympathizing with Will for all Jada's put him through, right? They came out like 2 weeks later talking about, well, Will cries all the time. He has like this thing where water just falls from his eyes. Listen, it may be a thing. I have never heard of it, but we have all kinds of diseases in this world, disorders in this world. So I don't know. It could really be a thing. But how can you take him serious? Because he even came out and said, yeah, I wasn't crying. I wasn't. I wasn't crying. I'm over them. I am over them. I am sick of them. I'm sick of them. Will Smith was literally laughing at the joke that Chris Rock made, which, by the way, it was about alopecia. I'm going to say alopecia several times. The bitch is bald. And I'm not cursing. I am saying bitch. I know it's going to B-I-S-H. Okay, I know it's going to sound like that. I really don't have a whole lot of time and care to be very careful. So I'm going to, and yes, this is part of a rant as well. So I'm going to say some words that are, they're going to sound like I'm cursing, but I'm not cursing, okay? I'm using other words, okay? And don't forgive me because I'm not asking for forgiveness for the way that it sounds and the way it comes out because I've had it up to here with these people. I used to be such a fan of both Jada and Will. I mean, such a fan, y'all. But at this point, like when they pass, I I ain't gonna miss them, especially Jada. I'm just not. I'm just over them. Jada's a witch. She's got witchcraft. She's got witchcraft thinking and witchcraft vagina. That's got to be the only way she's getting all these people entangled without her mess. But the joke was about alopecia. Ain't nobody died from alopecia. And she's not bald because all her hair fell out. No, she's bald because she shaved her head. That's why she's bald. She's bald by choice. And she's got a strong face. It's not our fault you got a strong face. Used to have, your features used to be kind of soft looking, Jada. They did. They did. But now, you know, I don't know what you've done, hun. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you're working out too much and now your face done got too strong. I don't know if you're doing exercises that are just face exercises only. I don't know what's going on, but you got a strong face, Jada. You got a strong face. You're looking real strong in the face, Jada. I don't know what's going on here. Your neck, you got muscles in your neck. You got facial muscles that I didn't even know we were supposed to have as a woman. What's going on here? So you mad? Stop doing those exercises. Stop doing those exercises that you're doing with your faces, making you looking strong and your body. Stop. Just stop. Enough already. But it's alopecia. It's not brain cancer, it's not skin cancer, it's no kind of cancer. No one has ever died from alopecia. Alopecia? Alopecia? And it was done. The joke was done on a stage where you know comedians gonna talk about almost anything. Comedians will talk. Y'all don't have no comedian friends? Will is a comedian. You don't have no comedian. I have friends that are comedians. I am not exempt from any of their jokes, y'all. You get with these Negroes and Negrettes, and at any given moment, whether they are on stage or not, you can become a victim of a joke. Y'all can be at IHOP. We can be at IHOP. IHOP, y'all. You know, and don't have nothing to do. And anybody can become a victim of a joke. A joke. So even if you're friends, not especially if you're not friends, if you're not friends, of course you're going to fall prey to a joke if you're not friends even. If friends and family, y'all, comedians talk about their own families. I'm telling you, I know I have comedian friends, y'all. No one is off the table. No one is safe. No one is safe. If you don't want to become prey to a joke, you know what you got to do? You got to not talk to anybody that the comedian is associated with. Like nobody. You got to not talk to them because anything that you share with an associate that could possibly get back to the comedian, it's up for grabs, y'all. And listen, you do not have any say at all about when it is not up for grabs. You don't. You do not. You do not. So if you're having boyfriend issues, girlfriend issues, wife issues, disease issues, anything that makes you feel insecure, you can any incident, and it gets back to the comedian, yeah, it's up for grabs now. If you feel insecure about it in the least bit, or if you have an attitude, because some things is not about insecurity, it's just like, something little happened, little incident, not a real big deal, but you know, a comedian can make something a real big deal, though, right? A comedian can take something that a comedian can take an incident like if you have a car accident, right? And you was drinking a little bit, or somebody was drinking a little bit. Nobody got hurt, or maybe somebody got hurt. I don't know whether they did or didn't. It don't even matter, right? If the car hit like a tree or something, I'm telling you, guys, as traumatic as that could be, even if you laugh about it, and don't think that much of it, a comedian, your own friend or family member that's a comedian, will take that incident and exaggerate the circumstances, flip it all the way up and over, and it has become a complete mockery. They have been doing this since comedy was a thing, and comedy has always been a thing. You know what comedians do? You know what their job is? Their job is to do and say things that most of us think and or want to do, but we can't say and we can't do it, or we won't say and we won't do it. That's the comedian's job. And it's their job to spit it in a way to make other folks think about it and laugh about it. That's the comedian's job. So Jada Pinkett Smith walked in, strolled into the Oscars in this beautiful gown, by the way. The gown was absolutely beautiful. Now, I wasn't too crazy about the top of the gown, but the tail, the bottom part of the gown, the skirt part, oh my goodness, I loved it. I thought it was absolutely stunning. And her earrings were perfect for it. It was just nice. Even with her being bald-headed and all, it was a very nice getup. I didn't see the shoes, though. I didn't take a look at the shoes, but I'm sure they must have been nice, too. I have to go back and take a look. But be that as it may. So she scrolled into the Oscars like this. This bitch knew that she was bald when she left the house. She left the house bald on choice, by choice. Anybody who's ever worn a weave or a wig knows that they lay better and they work better when your hair is either braided down or when you are bald. You have short hair, you can rock almost anything that you want to rock. And this woman has all the money that she could possibly need in the whole world, right? So it's not like she can get a different hairstyle every day of the week if she wanted to and be bad with it. What are you talking about? It's alopecia. You had one little funky scar in the top of your head, like it was cut. I don't know. Jada, is it really alopecia? Did you cut yourself? What's really going on here? Because I'm going to be honest, I have never seen alopecia where a person just gets looks like they've been cut across the top of their head. Now, I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm saying I've never seen it. Is what I'm saying. I've never seen it like that. But be that as it may, I don't know what's going on. Be that as it may, it's alopecia. It's not life-threatening. It's not even really life-changing. Jada, get over it. You're from Philly. And you're from Philly? You're supposed to be feeling tough. So this how you're representing Philly? I'm over it. Don't tell me nothing about Philly. Don't tell me nothing about Philly. Because if Philly people are sensitive about alopecia, baldness, balding, about the scalp, not cancer. Comedians, we have made fun of people with cancer. Come on. How many times? How many times? How many times have you been like in the midst of a joke or someone telling a joke? And you know the situation where there's a hole in the throat and people talk like this. Excuse me, I can't. Can you help me? I was diagnosed. I started smoking. I started smoking when I was 16. When I was 16 years old, I smoked. I smoked for 17 years. I smoked this snuff. And then one day, the doctor told me I had lung cancer. Anybody? Anybody? Hey, Coach Malik, good to see you. Anybody? People have made fun of people with handicaps. Remember little Tink Tink, who was in the Olympics, who was in a race? He was running on like metal, he had metal feet. Remember little Tink Tink? Little Tink Tink. I don't even know the man's real name. We just call him Little Tink Tink. But Little Tink Tink didn't go on a rampage about all the jokes that was made about him running on metal feet. He literally took that thing in stride. Alopecia? My nigga? Alopecia? A G.I. Jane? And it's not like Jada Smith has not had masculine roles in movies anyway. I mean, come on, who are we kidding here? What's the real issue? Every role that Jada has ever done has not all been girly, soft, feminine. And now she's looking real strong in the face. And she's bald-headed. And that's our fault? Jada, you're bald. You're bald and you're ugly. I'ma say it. You're bald and you're ugly. I'm in Houston. I want all the smoke. I want all the smoke, Jada. I want all the smoke. I want all the smoke. I want it. I want all the smoke. You're bald and you're ugly. You got an ugly heart. You're ugly. You're not a woman of honor. You know, it ain't our fault. You could take the joke. Every one of us at any point in time could be prey to a joke that we don't really find funny. But you know, it's not okay to just hit somebody over it. It just isn't. What are we doing? What are we doing? So, I mean, you got folks, the alphabet group, you know, the LGBTQ people. They get sensitive and people gotta walk on eggshells and tiptoe. Hey, Jack, and tiptoe, you know, because we don't want to offend. the alphabet community. We're going to cancel people because they talked about the alphabet community. All right, right now, I'm talking about the alphabet community. Listen, I am the absolute last pro-heterosexual woman on the earth. Got it? I'm the last. I'm the absolute last. I will take the smoke for being the absolute last. I am pro-heterosexual. If you want to go do anything other than that, besides be with someone of the opposite sex, that's your thing, that's your issue, that's your style, that's your gig, it's whatever. But I, as the absolute last pro-heterosexual woman on the earth, do not have to tiptoe around because you decide to sleep with someone of the same sex, or sleep with a dog, or sleep with a tree, or sleep with whatever. I don't have to be sensitive to you for that. Now, what I don't get a right, what I don't have a right to do, I don't have a right to attack you for it, okay? I don't. I don't have a right to attack you. I don't have a right to assault you. But I have a right to take my stand on gender roles and gender by design, gender nature. I have that right. And alphabet community, you are not going to rob me of my right to do that. Sorry. People have been making jokes about even people's sexuality for years. So what now, y'all? Are comedians, are we just going to silence the comedians altogether? People can make fun, people will make fun of you and will make fun of things, of all types of things in the world. From an insect to a fat person, to a skinny person, to a person with freckles, a person that's bald, male or female, a person with too much hair, the skin tone, the texture. I mean, anything is up for grabs, y'all. It's comedy. And it's not a comedian's job to protect your insecurities. It's not. If you want to protect your insecurities, number one, I'm going to say this. Come to grips with your insecurities. Come to grips with them. And whatever can be fixed, take it to God. Let God deal with it. Because you're going to grow up. And different things are going to happen in life that may make you feel, or that can cause some things to be insecure about. Physically, monetarily. I mean, you can be shamed for almost anything. It's funny to me though, the things that we should be shamed for, you feel no shame for. Jada, you bald-headed, ugly-hearted bitch. You have more shame and embarrassment about your freaking alopecia than the mismanagement of your pooch. You're out here talking about your husband does not satisfy you. And he hasn't satisfied you in a long time. And you have no shame about getting out on television, getting out in public and talking about the needs and the mismanagement of your vagina. But you have shame about alopecia and about you shaving your head bald, about you giving your own self a buzz cut. You are like, There was no shame at all about the whole intent. Bitch, you slept with a man that was damn near a child. You slept with your children, with your son's friend. Talking about you wanted to heal him. What? What? No shame for that. No shame. But something that you could literally cover up, like a bald head. Like you could literally, like you chose, that was you. You chose to go outside and be bald. You chose to go to the Oscars in a beautiful dress with a bald head. Bitch, you did that. You did that. Will saw you leaving the house. I mean, I think he did. I mean, I would assume he did. I don't know. I don't know. Because you guys are strange. You have a whole strange relationship. Everything about you is strange at this point. Everything about you is strange. So he may not have even seen you leaving the house. Y'all could have met down the street from the Oscars and then got in a limousine and rode up together to look like you're together because you're so strange. But if you're that insecure about it, I mean, you the one got on Instagram talk about something. And mamas, well, guys, I don't really want you to ask, because you guys know I've been wearing, head wraps and things like that. Because I was having some issues with my hair thinning and everything, but now I have this scar you can see right here. Yeah, right here. So I cut my hair and I don't want you guys to be surprised and ask me about it. So I just want you to know it's the alopecia and I'm feeling some kind of way about it and everything. But you know what mama gonna do? Tell you what mama gonna do. And I don't know who mama, because baby, you ain't my mama. But anyway, you know what mama gonna do? Mama gonna put some jewels in it. Some rhinestones. Okay. Mama gonna put some diamonds in it. That's what mama gonna do. And mama gonna rock it like that. Okay? That's what mama gonna do. And I thought, well, that is a fly idea, Jada. Way to go. Way to go, Jada. You're now going to inspire other women who suffer and who struggle with alopecia. You're now going to give them other ways to look at it, right? And be a little bit more bolder and be a little more confident with it, right? Because you're going to show us how to do it with the gems, right? And I've seen you, put a couple of things on your head. I'm like, yeah, I like that. That's cool. Hey, El Nixon, good to see you. But then you go from that to I'm upset, giving Chris Rock the witch eye, the evil witch eye, when he called you G.I. Jane, said he's looking forward to, seeing you featured in a G.I. Jane movie. And quite frankly, I thought you'd be pretty cool too. And you know what? And if you disagree with me, it's okay to disagree with me, by the way. If you disagree with me, it's okay. Because I disagree with a whole lot of people regarding the issue. Okay, I do. Jada was not she was not in danger. For the females that are saying that Will was protecting Jada, I disagree 100%. Jada was not in danger. If Chris Rock had slapped her bald head, If he had slapped her bald head, that'd be different. If he was behind her in a line at a grocery store or something and said something about her head, if he'd been like, "You bald headed, you know, dang, dang, Jada, you bald headed as hell. Woo! Look at that head." And then spanked it, like slapped it. That's threatening. He was on stage. And then, how about this? How about this? Hey, Chaos Rain. And I'm not reading the chat right now to see you guys coming in, but I'll get back to the chat later. You guys were sitting so far across from each other. Like, could you be any further apart besides being on the opposite side of the room and look less into each other than what you did? Could you? You could have sat a whole nother table in between them. That's how far apart they were sitting at the Oscars. But you want us to believe that this is you protecting her. Will was laughing. Am I the only one? I'm not. Because the whole me that saw Will laughing. And if it was an uncomfortable laugh, if it was a laugh of, "I don't like what he's saying right now," okay, I can get that. That's cool. That still does not give him the right to go up to the stage and slap, punch, hit, assault. It didn't, and even if it was not on a stage, the joke, if it was a comment being made somewhere at a party, it doesn't give you a right to go and hit someone. You can address them without hitting them. And now let's go over to Chris Rock too for a minute. What is wrong with you, Chris Rock? A man walks up to you. You just made a joke about his strong-faced wife. You just made a joke about his wife. He does something unusual, which gets out of his seat and walks toward the stage, which is not supposed to happen. And you keep your hands behind your back. Uh-oh. You called for somebody, but you kept your hands behind your back. Listen, I don't care what's going on. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what I'm doing. If it appears that you are about to invade my personal space, that to me, and really cool, that's threatening. That is the time to go into defense mode. What were you doing, Chris Rock? See, I'm one of the ones that kind of feel like that this may not, that part of this may have been staged. I don't really believe all the hype, but if it was real, if it wasn't staged, I'm gonna go off of that too. It's not okay. This is how a lot of men have ended up in a graveyard early behind a woman, behind words. Words. We're in our 50s, my nigga. We're in our 50s. Will, you're in your 50s. This is what you're doing in your 50s? In your 50s? It is a poor example. I feel like if it's real, charges should be pressed against you and you should face consequences for that. I do. For Jada Pinkett Smith to not have tried to stop him from getting on that stage, again, says a lot about her and you. She don't respect you, Will. She don't respect that. Even if she influenced you to do that. No. A woman who loves you, who really loves you, and really respects you and really honors you, which clearly she's shown that she hasn't in all these years, she's not going to put you in unnecessary dangerous situations. Dangerous situations. And this is what I mean, right? Because with Will Smith doing this, and he's a celebrity, and so many other people look up to them, they're going to feel like that is okay. And then you can kind of apologize for it later, kind of. But it'll be okay. And people will understand because you just got emotional. No. No. I have said this before and I'll say it again. Fellas, if a female can put you in that type of situation, that's a female you do not need to be with. You have to, as men, you have to value your own life and your own energy, your own life source. You have to value that more than you value the woman and her vagina. You have to value that more than you value the fear of losing her. You have to value that more than you fear the consequences, the financial consequences of if you divorce her. Because there is no money in the world that can replace your life if you go approach the wrong people the wrong way over words. Men, when you are logical, you are able to assess the difference between something being an immediate danger, an immediate threat, or not. And you're supposed to be able to show that and reflect that onto the women around you and the women under you. Jada was not being harmed. Her ego, her esteem, okay. Her esteem, her ego, Will's ego is not the responsibility of anyone else. It's their responsibility to take care of that. That would have been a good time when they got home, if they went to the same house, when they got home, for Jada to say, you know, Will, I saw you laugh, you know, when Chris made the comment, you know, about me playing G.I. Jane. And you know how sensitive I am about my alopecia, right? I don't like that. I was offended and I was hurt. Okay. Then it's Will's responsibility to then tend to his wife, make her feel secure again, apologize for, you know, for laughing at the joke because that's his wife. Apologize and make her feel secure. Assure her and reassure her that he's going to be there and that he's going to be supportive no matter what. And encourage her to go get them damn rhinestones that she was going to put in her hair anyway and go put that in her hair. Maybe go make herself feel better. Go get her some flowers and then ask later on, you know, maybe approach Chris Rock and say, hey man, I know comedians have a job to do, this, that, whatever. And I understand you was doing a job, but Jada was really hurt, really offended, you know, she really sensitive, you know, to what you said and everything. Can you maybe not do that next time? Can you maybe, if we're gonna even talk about it, can you not use Jada? Can you not call her name? See, that's a little that see that's a mature way of doing things. And then if you don't, then you know what? You just don't go to another whenever you're if you have to be somewhere where Chris Rock is performing, like an Oscars, like an award ceremony, right? While he's performing, you go do something else. Go to the bathroom or go, I don't know, go have entanglement. Go order some food. Go have a drink. Go outside and get some fresh air. Because you don't have a right to censor him. You don't. Before I continue, I have not taken any tea except for now. So hold on a second. I'm going to sip some tea and I'm going to read the chat and I'm going to play some more violin. Y'all, I'm playing this violin from YouTube while I read the chat and sip some tea. So if it hits a commercial, it's going to hit a commercial at some point in time, maybe. And if it does, roll with it because I don't pay for YouTube Premium. I'm paying for my mortgage to be off early, okay? And other stuff. So YouTube Premium is not a priority. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. Hey, 3,000 degrees. Welcome. Hey, Maurice. Good to see you. This tea is so good. Okay, turn that down. My goodness. Oh my, that was Josh Vietti on the violin. So, another thing that concerns me about this thing too is, again, y'all, this is the image of Black men. Let that sink in. This is the image of Black men. This is how they want you to be seen. And if you guys don't speak up and say that it is not okay in volumes, in masses, it's like allowing that to be the image. They want the Black man to be the face of violence. They want the Black man to be the face of femininity. They want Black men to be the face of the alphabet community. They're trying to put you guys out there to be the face and the image of anything negative that they can possibly do. Oh, okay, that's kind of my cue, but no, okay. Alarm went off. And I'm not okay with that, guys. Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Hey, Dollar Will, good to see you. Jada got paid to risk getting alopecia, getting the condition, and taking the joke come with the territory. How are you going to be a sensitive public figure in public? Dollar Will, I couldn't have said that any better. Huh. How are you going to be a sensitive public figure in public? And at the end of the day, some white folk got richer off of that. Got facts. Coach Malik says, I haven't watched the King Richard film, but I really don't like how the 12 to 15 children he abandoned is not an issue. Girl, I did not even know that this man had all those children. See, I don't even know that part of the story. And let's talk about this too, right? So let's talk about how when Will Smith got up to give his, no, before I go there, let's talk about when he left to go back to his seat. And then he's yelling, keep my wife's name out your MF mouth. Keep my wife's name out your MF mouth. At the Oscars. This was not a bar in the hood. This was the Oscars. This was not a barbecue, a 4th of July barbecue. This was the Oscars. This was not Christmas, Thanksgiving family dinner. It was not a family reunion. This was the Oscars. This was not at the neighborhood basketball park. This was a black tie, red carpet event, the Oscars. Will Smith yelling and acting like that as if he was back in Philly at the basketball court in Philly or at a bar, a nightclub in Philly, in the low class part of Philly, no less. Really? So again, what that gives off to me is you can't take them niggas nowhere. It don't matter where them niggas at. They gonna always act a fool. Thanks, Will Smith. Thanks. See, it don't matter how successful they are, they're gonna always be ghetto. You can't make them have any class. They can't. See, a little while back, some years back, when Jada was complaining about the Oscars. Why are at the Oscars anyway? You wanted to boycott the Oscars. Remember, Jada? Instead, you front and center. Why? Why you didn't just stay your bald-headed self at home? Hey, JT, good to see you. Why? Why you at the Oscars anyway? You wanted to boycott. Remember that? Why you didn't boycott that night? Why don't you boycott? Why don't you boycott all of Hollywood? Why don't you boycott all of mainstream media? Why don't you just boycott everything and just stay at home? Why don't you fold up your red table chair and just, why don't you fold it up, burn it, sell it, do something, and go sit down. Just go sit down somewhere. Go sit at the kitchen table. How about you just be a supporting wife at this point? Okay? How about you do that? How about you go and learn how to keep your legs closed? How about you go get therapy for everything? Go get therapy for everything you're insecure about. How about you go get therapy for still mourning over Tupac in your husband's face every year? How about you go get therapy for that and just go sit down somewhere? How about you do that? So we can stop talking about you. Because quite frankly, a lot of us are really, really tired of seeing you. We're tired of talking about you. You have brought such a disdain of mention to our tongues. A disdain. So we can't take you anywhere. You're gonna always mess up something. That's why, we shouldn't really allow them to, get a lot of rewards from our ceremony. Which it's a whole other thing with me anyway, because I honestly feel like we have enough where we can give ceremonies and awards to our people without having to involve other races anyway. But that's just me. I think we're greater than what we actually are. I think we're capable of more things than what we actually are, because I'm like 1 in 5 that think like I do. So apparently I hold us melanated people, I hold us to a higher degree of excellence and 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 a higher degree of capabilities than what we actually have. And I just need to sit down. I'ma sit down. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna stop having the expectations like that. Because clearly, we not with it. We're not. But I'm done right now. I'm done. Is there anyone that would like to come up and share in on the conversation? Let me know while I go heat up my tea, because it's gotten a little cool. And let me know. I'm going to play some more violin. And if not, I'm going to come back with a few more words. I'm going to end it and go on about my business. Okay, Jack. Have a great day, Donna. Thank you, darling. He is going off on that violin. Okay, hold on. Ooh, mercy. He is going off. Okay, anyway, welcome. We
Welcome, welcome.
have and Dollar Will. Oh, and Coach Malik.
Hello.
Hey,
Glad.
Hello,
Hello, everyone.
everybody.
Hello.
Okay, why don't we go one at a time? Jack Spade, you want to go ahead and go first? And welcome to
All
the Telephone
right.
Channel.
All right. I'll go first. Good morning, everybody, one and all. Oh, good afternoon here on the East Coast.
Good afternoon.
Well,
hey,
but as usual, I'm going to make this quick. My problem with Will, we all understand once you get into certain positions, you got to walk differently than how you do back on the block. Folks are so quick to talk about racism and prejudice in the Hollywood system. Once you get there and you know that you are the it person, you're in that, we'll say, saintful position where you got to always put on a good face, and then if someone crosses you the wrong way, there's a time and a place how to handle it. And that little bit with Will, that was an embarrassment on him. That was an embarrassment on him being a black male. That was an embarrassment of him being a father and a husband. That whole deal was just a total cluster. Try not to use curse word. Was just a cluster. I can understand, maybe you're upset that a person says something says something about you or your wife, but there's a time and a place, hours later, maybe a couple of days later, to approach the person and figure out what they may not have understood. Like Chris said, he didn't know she had alopecia, so he may have known, he may not have known, but that's the stuff that you settle someplace else. Now if you approach him and he wants to get jazzy with it, then y'all go behind closed doors and handle it. But and my last part is just some of the responses that I'm reading from a lot of the female comment leavers about that's what Will should have done. He protected her honor and all this kind of crazy stuff. Uh, uh, I'll say it like this: that's the reason why some of these chicks ain't got a damn man. I'll leave it there.
I think um, I'm old. You remember when they used to pull the thread on the cartoon, and then the next thing you know, the person standing up naked or the cartoon naked. I think this is an opportunity to have quite a few discussions that we're not talking about. Number one, why we're so broken. We sit up here and talk about the two-parent household when the entire reason Will is so broken, from my understanding, is because what he lived through in that two-parent household with his dad, or what he experienced there. That's a deeper conversation we ain't talking about. Why Jada over here still pining for somebody she went with when she was 15 years old, 13 years old, didn't even probably lose her virginity to. But that's a whole nother story. And the fact is, I think she's not in the spotlight, and she's been doing little things to be in the spotlight that has brought an enormous amount of scrutiny on her. People, I tell people in these YouTube spaces, be careful what you put out there and that you really heal from it, because it will be thrown back at you as ammunition. And what he going through now is a result of that stuff. And this was Will's moment. As a wife, I would have ate that. Even if I didn't, I would have plastered a smile on my face, and I would not have. We would have talked about that at home. I was like, man, I don't like how that nigga talk to me, Will. You need to go see Chris when we get home.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate your perspective as well, Coach Malik, coming from another woman. Thank you. Dollar Bill, what you got?
Uh, I got a lot, but I'm short now. I'm separated. Um, first of all, I think this is staged. I got to say that right out the break. And now that's a whole nother comment about more on that I want to say later. But let's just assume that it's not staged. If it was real, it's relevant to a lot of things that we talk about over here in what we call the Black manosphere. Uh, that thug love, Pookie's the real man. Uh, this whole thing is keeping black men as boys. Will Smith is over 50 years old. He went out there and acted like he was 16 years old.
But he had a whole daddy, so that really go to the thing of what his dad did in the home.
I'm not even. Let me have my.
And that's that generation, y'all romance. That's the generation that's romance.
With all due respect, please let me finish, and please ignore everything she just said, because I no disrespect to you, but I don't want that in your thought process with what I'm saying. I'm saying cultural forces are so strong. It doesn't matter if you had a positive father in the house or none of that. Okay. I am that nice guy, just like Will Smith. And we grow up with a different orientation to this prison culture that has grabbed hold of our community. And we experience as young men ostracization from other men who are other boys who are caught up in this prison culture warped definition of what a man is, and women. And we going through puberty too, wanting women, and we see that what the community or the standard on the streets that's even validated by adults, that a real man is like some Tarzan figure who don't even think and who's 2 seconds away from whooping somebody's what all the time. We can't function like that in this society. That's what I'm talking about. This community standard is keeping black men as boys. And Will Smith, he has fought this his whole life. At the time of gangster rap, he was doing clean rap. And he was considered the nerd. So he consciously fought this stuff, and he spoke about it in real time as he was growing up, about how he came from a middle class environment, not poverty, and that he had values that taught to him, that he wanted his grandparents and parents to see what he was doing and see it as a reflection or manifestation of what they taught him. And a lot of us, quote, nice guys, that's where we come from. And we pay a price for that. Now, Will Smith is 50 years old, who's been fighting this all his life. Now he gonna lose it over a few daggone jokes. That crap was staged. So Will Smith get into his insecurities about Jada loving Tupac, and now he gonna summon his inner Tupac and go out there and keep it real. This dude has lost women all his life to people, to other women who had a Tupac-like fascination. Okay,
I think it was all that Schmeat that August Alsina had. I don't think it was Tupac no more. But my thing is that you shouldn't be reminiscing over something that happened to you in 8th grade when you were a whole 40-some-year-old person. But that's a deeper issue. That we romanticize that. That's our little girl growing up. But as grown women and as grown men, they should have dealt with that. And if my barely median income but have the resources to try to attempt to do it, they definitely do.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's common for people to wrestle with things for all their life. In real life, we are born flawed, we live flawed, we die flawed. This ain't the movies where we fix everything at the end and then we die. No, we struggle with our problems our whole life, and we don't solve everything. But Will Smith had battled this successfully to, multimillionaire status, and now we're supposed to think that he can't take a few jokes and he's gonna go up there and slap Chris Rock. I think it was off stage, and a little later I want to give you everybody some reasons why I think that.
Okay,
I want to chime in about the stage part. It doesn't matter if this is stage or not. It's all about perception, public perception. A man's character and a man's ability to walk through doors or open up doors is always going to be based on how people perceive him. And if you're a man and you have a family, you have a wife that you're taking care of, I don't care if you are sitting on $500 million, as we saw with Bill Cosby. One little mishap and public perception can take all that away from you. And now there's a guy that supposedly got into a little physical situation with Will a couple years ago. He's come out of the woodwork because now he has something that he can make people say, well, maybe Will was at fault for putting his hands on this gentleman. I saw it on MSN real quick.
So you think that Will Smith may pay a financial price for this?
Anything is possible. Just like if 10 years ago, if anyone had mentioned that Bill Cosby would be in the position he's in now, people would say, no, that wouldn't have happened to Bill Cosby. But as we saw with Bill Cosby, it's not so much the indiscretion, it's what the public perceives of that can ruin your whole career.
I think, yes, it is possible. I agree, but I do not think it's likely. I think the converse. Will Smith is going to be financially rewarded for this, and it was staged, so he could be financially rewarded for it. Everybody got to see, I'm a little older. Happy birthday to me as of Monday. I'm in this Aries, just turned 58. Despite the youthful voice, I am 5'8", 58 years old.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Oh, thank y'all. People may not remember that way back in the day, Denzel Washington was Will Smith. Until that movie Training Day came out, then his thug energy came out and he became the sexiest man and all that stuff. Nobody said that about Denzel. And if you go back to his earlier interviews, he said in real time, nobody said those things about me, once they started saying it, but it was directly traced to that movie Training Day that cast him in the bad boy role, and he became a superstar from that.
I just want to chime in just on the Training Day thing, but there was some backlash from Black people that he got honored for that type of movie. But there's a difference between the situation with Will Smith and the Training Day. The Training Day was a movie. I mean, I believe most of us can separate that. Denzel was acting. He may have put his best him in that.
And Will Smith was acting. Remember, that's my premise. But getting up on stage and attacking someone or cursing someone out from the audience, you don't know whether or not that's real or not, and that type of perception can ruin your career. It can ruin your reputation.
I think it's something much bigger. I think it's something much bigger that we don't really want to discuss. Those things, those incidents back then, they say hindsight is 20/20, and we can look back and say, oh, those were warning signs. Those was warning signs. I think anything that we suppress will pop up somewhere later. So if we do not address things, then they will come out, and it's time to say, hey, you need to go sit on somebody's couch, because that should not, something that small, and it's small to me because it's not my issue, should not make somebody react. He shouldn't react that big, because can't nothing make you react, nothing. Because we are still at the end of the day in control of ourselves. And I've said like this, if you can control yourself in front of judges that are very condescending to you, and you could exercise that a lot of times when we stand in their courts, that we can control ourselves in other situations if we want to, but we feel like we have a past to do it, and so we let it go. But he have some much deeper stuff that we need to talk about, and we don't talk about this stuff. We think that everything from our childhood, we supposed to turn 18 or 19, and we don't really address it. And there's a lot of stuff need to be addressed. That toxic 2-parent household that we are so committed to, maintaining. There's a time to fight for a marriage, and then it's a time to get away from it. But because we have the stigma of being baby mamas, be and this and that, we still fight and holding on to some stuff that you probably should walk away from.
I agree. Before we continue, I would like to say, Will, I appreciate you bringing in that different perspective. I definitely want to touch on that. And I want to ask you guys a question as well before we bring the JT, the number one grinder, on in. And JT, you can think about this as well. But what are we saying? And I'm going to get back to if it's staged. All right, Dollar Will, I'm not done with that. But I wanted to ask, where are we as a society when we not only censor comedians, but we attack them? Where are we, guys? And Nathan.
That's part of the. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's part of the thing. Everybody that I've been to a comedy show, we already know that that's part of the thing. It was in the right context what Chris Rock was doing. The fact that he didn't have probably no idea that she had alopecia. And I'm gonna say Jada think too much of herself to think that Chris Rock following her life like that. I didn't even know she had alopecia. And it's very strange that just recently in the last couple of weeks before this came out that we start talking about her alopecia, and the thing that set it off was her hair. That's just real coincidental to me. But it's just too coincidental to me. And nobody follows her like that. She's not the star. She the astronaut. She chilling with the star. Will was the star. And I just think it was an attempt to make it about her, that may be a deeper conversation about her.
Comedians make jokes about things that people can't change about themselves all the time. I don't think it's totally irrelevant for Will Smith to be talking about, she got alopecia. I don't care. You got people that's short, people that's fat, which has been declared a disease, but all kinds of big noses, all kinds of things. Everything is fair game in the realm of a comedian. And you knew he was a comedian when you went there. And you sat there on the front row and you knew that you topical as AF. You know that.
But they was talking about other people too. Another married couple had been referenced right before then. Had he not spoke about her, she would have been offended, because I just think she was looking to be offended. But it was in the right context. It wasn't like he pulled it out of the blue. Everybody was getting heckled.
Well, I think it's an issue of the cancel culture has run amok, and the bad part about it, we have too many people that are siding with it. Before, it was just basically, comedians could say what they want to say, and I think someone touched on it. If you don't want to be talked about, but if you want to go to the venue, you sit all the way in the back, or you just don't attend. Now the attitude is, I should be able to do what I want to do. And if you say anything towards me that hurts my feelings, I should be able to do what I want to do. And as I said, the bad part is the crowd will actually sanction it. And that's the bad part about it. And it's even worse because in Black culture, we have accepted it. So now anybody can do whatever they want to do. Anybody can feel whatever they want to feel, and they can do whatever they want to do, and nobody's supposed to say anything against it. It's just we just roll with it because it's the end thing.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, JT, how are you doing today?
I'm gonna say a few things because I'm gonna get off because I'm gonna get ready to do something later on, set up a live later on. What I get from it is this: another man assault another man. That's what I see. Everything what you're saying, I'm not negating that you're wrong and everything. Another man assault another man. Okay? Because lately I've been thinking, right? My late mother's side, my late father's side, just worked me on it. I did, I was around strong women on both sides. And I remember my grandmother, she sat me down. I was like about 13. I remember I came to the house. And she, when my late mother, my late aunt talking, and I said, I was going to go. I said, no, we want to sit with you. We want to talk to you one thing. So you be careful of these women out here, these little girls. They can be very manipulative. And in the way how this world is, you're not going to be protected, especially you're heterosexual man, especially a black man. You're going to get what I'm saying. And that's back in 79. That's the same year my late brother was born. I remember that. Now I'll be turning 56 years old in June. God's willing, I see that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, congratulate me yet. I gotta get to June 4th, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it ain't nothing to take for granted as a black man to get this far. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And then salute to you to your late birthday. I appreciate that. And look where we at right now. The man is not together. We so divided more than ever. You got women out here think it's okay. And I salute to you, Rainy Woman, because I always consider you my sister. And like I told you before, I'm always going to protect you no matter what. And you brought out some valid points. But the problem is, and people could take whatever they want, how many reigning women is willing to say the same thing as my grandmother, my late grandmother, my great
Baby, men supposed to try to manipulate women out of pussy, and women supposed to do the same. That's called life. That is it. So acting like it's some great conspiracy. My mama say the same thing. Oh yeah, the boy's gonna try to manipulate you out your pussy. That's life.
Can you let me finish?
Hold on, coach. Let him finish though. Let him finish. You can respond. Hold on.
Can you let me finish? I'm going by what they told me. Also I know that men do the same thing too. I'm talking about my perspective. They said to watch out for those things, and I don't see nothing wrong that a woman could sit down with a young boy and tell him these certain things, just as men sit down with their little boys and sit down and watch out for those things too. I don't see nothing wrong with that. But when I'm saying like that, we need to have those conversations. We got to have those conversations. Because at the end of the day, I'm a man. God made me as a man through my late parents. This is how it is. But I know this much, that as me being a single man, I have to be careful. The way talk to a woman. I gotta be careful the way you're traveling and stuff. I gotta be real careful. It had nothing to do with a woman. It had to do with, I'm talking about the system. Us as a people, we gotta be very, very careful. So what happened is a man assault another man, and brother, I forgot what brother Jack Space said. People was clapping. That's alarming. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Thank you, Dwayne Woman. I'll probably just most likely be listening while I set up my live. Peace to everybody. Peace to you and your families. Have a good day.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go in here with this one. Coach Malik, I'm gonna let you respond to what he said, and then I want to throw in another element, and then we're gonna come back around to whether or not if this is being staged and what is the payoff for it being staged. Go ahead, Coach Malik.
I think we have to stop acting as though who got it worse or somebody telling somebody something. The same thing that I tell my sons about sex, in the same conversations I have with my sons, I have with my daughters. Be particular who you sleep with, make babies with, all this stuff, how you carry yourself in public. I give my daughters that same speech, and we act in these spaces. It comes across as if we're only giving that, like women just giving that information to girls. We have sons. We raise them the same way, and we give them the same tools and the same talking. Men supposed to try to manipulate women out of coochie, and women supposed to do the same thing to men. That's called what we do when we younger, out there being wild and out or whatever. And we need to stop acting like it's something more and it's worse here. And it's some big conspiracy. That's life. And the people who saying it's the women winning or the men winning, we both have consequences. They're not equal consequences. But the bigger picture I really want to think is, why is we honoring this man who had 2 children that were tennis stars? I ain't gonna watch that movie, I ain't gonna lie. But we need to talk about the 12 to 15 children he abandoned, that they ain't talking about that backstory. I think we need a movie on that.
Okay, we definitely can talk about that as well. I'll probably do another stream for that. This man and his
On
Papa
that,
was
I
a
can't let that.
rolling
I can't let
stone.
that just stand out there. I don't do unless you know some background. You know, we gotta know the. So
He
maybe
had a
what you
wife
maybe
that he
hold on.
left.
Let me finish my point, please. Unless we know details, not those. That's just too overlay that he had former wives and he wasn't there to raise the kid. We don't know what the circumstances were, why he wasn't there. We don't know if he was pushed out. That happens a lot, so we don't know. It's a complex thing. So it's not like everything's always the man's fault because he wasn't there. Okay.
He left his
Also,
wife
uh, uh,
and he told his daughter he was going to buy her a bicycle and he didn't return. They had 4 or 5 kids together and she was an alcoholic and he left those kids with her and he didn't look back. And those
did,
wasn't no
did,
outside
did,
children,
did,
but
did,
it's more children on top of that. So even if we want to say that, but there's a way to research that than saying we don't know, so we don't want to know. But there are red flags everywhere that said it is a topic that's in the media and we need to use these things because these people rich, but we still got the same everyday problems. So plausible deniability and things putting our hands over our eyes and our thumbs and our ears so we don't see and hear is not an option.
and it's also not an option to think that we're being fair and objective by casting the other side as putting the hands over their eyes and thumbs in their
Just
ear or
like they
whatever.
did the research for this movie, they
Hold
could
on.
do for another movie.
Let me get my point out now. You rock with this, roll with this. You heard one side. You ever heard his response? So we don't know. That's just the thing. When we talking about these relationship things, men don't get the equal stage to say their other side, and whatever the woman says is considered fact, and the man has to battle against it. People, we're not even conditioned as a society to be objective about it. And the only other thing I want to say on the dating part, no, it's not. We're not supposed to manipulate each other out of sex or money or whatever. I don't think seduction is
I
necessarily.
never said anything about money.
I threw money in there because women don't just date or have sex just for sexual pleasure. Women date sex for women brings more than just sexual pleasure. So women
I,
date
I,
for
I
this is
think you
my
putting
opinion.
20 on
Hold on,
10.
this is
Yeah.
my opinion now. Let me use my opinion out. Women are more complex for what they use sex for, especially in a society that's historically male dominated. So for a woman to get resources or whatever, sex is the avenue to get everything, promotion, everything. There's no limit to what a woman can get using sex, and they can and do. So I'm not going to reduce it to just say that a woman is like a man. A woman is not like a man, and I'm not going to reduce all relationships are transactional. All relationships are transactional. Everybody and every relationship is getting something out of it, or they wouldn't be there. Okay,
Right.
but I'm not going to call that transaction manipulation. Okay.
Excuse me.
Reciprocity.
I don't want us to get too far off the
Fair
path
enough.
of the initial
Okay.
conversation.
I wanted to
Okay.
chime in about Richard. Having a senior moment. Richard.
But that
Okay,
was a great movie, though.
really quickly, because I don't want us to get too far off the path of the initial conversation and why we're really here on this topic.
The slap.
Okay, so what I was going to say about Richard, I believe the sisters, it was their prerogative to acknowledge their father if that's what they wanted to do, and they could pick and choose what side they wanted to tell, because no one could deny if he didn't introduce them to tennis, then that they wouldn't have the life that they have now. Plus, he was the one that acted as a buffer between his daughters and the press and the tennis organization. So if they feel that their father was deserving this type of honor and they were able to put the money and influence behind it, then hey, good for them. Now, I've never watched the movie. I don't think I'm going to watch the movie, but that's the decision that the daughters wanted to make.
Okay.
I wasn't saying about their decision to make it. I'm saying that we are looking at Will Smith and Jada and we're discussing the things that impacted this. And I think that in light of this movie, it is a venue to open up some conversations about some things that are equally important. And I do think it's problem. That's great that he did it for those two kids, and he received stuff on the back end financially himself. And I am not disputing that, but I'm saying it was 12 to 15 other children he got out there that a larger conversation needs to be had. Just like Will Smith is up here a broken man because of stuff that he experienced in his childhood, there are 12 to 15 other kids that have some stuff that this man had a responsibility to. And some born within a marriage before we say outside kids. That is a part of a deeper conversation that can be brought about. That's
Okay,
all.
I can definitely see how that can strike, how it should. It has the ability to strike a different conversation, and maybe that will happen. Yeah, maybe I may listen. Y'all know I don't be up here every day, so and I have a few other topics that I still need to bring back to the screen. And before I say, yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and open that up. So I'm gonna say that's possible, but I'm not gonna commit to it at this time. But I want to say this, right? Because JT did mention the assault, and it was that assault of one man to another man. I'm gonna say, and that it was an assault of one black man to another black man. So let's talk about Black Lives Matter, right? How do Black Lives Matter in a situation where another black man can assault another black man over a joke?
That's some real ghetto ass shit. I'm just gonna say it. That's like getting killed for $2 in a crap game. It is a bigger topic in our community. Glad that it didn't take it to the level of that. But what if Chris Rock would have hit back? We have had two men scuffling on stage, and we both know that in reality, if they weren't who they are, the police really didn't need no consent for Chris Rock to move ahead and press charges, and they still can.
That's
And then we have to teach our black men how to move in a society where you don't get caught up as a regular person to get caught up on papers. They might be on probation that leads to a whole, you know, you 20 years old, you go slap somebody. Now you on probation for 5 years, and how that could end up with you in prison or a year and stuff. So it's definitely consequences that they're not gonna face that regular men and black men will face. I mean, that could be enough to keep you from getting a job as a teacher, nurse, um, inhibit medical, working in certain medical fields, going into CIA, FBI, all types of things and conversations that we need to have for young black men that
I
they won't face.
agree. I completely agree. What say you, Jack?
Sure. The short answer is cancel culture is here until the next it movement occurs. And as I have read and listened to a bit of these uploads and these comments, the thing about the women saying they not all, but a segment that they were proud of Will to step up there and protect his wife honor. And I read a lot of the male comments that they shun what Will did. They don't go into details, but some do touch the thing about the consequences. So if we have a segment of the women that feels that that was right, then what are they teaching their sons or taught their sons when they were going through childhood and made it into adulthood? Because it seems like we have one gender that feels one way and we have another gender that feels a different way. That's
And
my end part.
and that is exactly why I want to talk about this, because as a woman myself, I definitely do not see that as protecting another woman. I do not see that Jada was not in danger. She was not in harm's way. You know, I don't remember the last time someone was literally killed because they had alopecia. I don't remember the last time someone was beat up because they had alopecia. I don't remember the last time someone lost their job because they had alopecia. I mean, I just don't.
Let's keep it in perspective. Jada has been lauded as a beauty. I'm thinking her ego a little bruised, but she has been the top of the top. People look at her as beautiful, and then this one time where she don't get the accolades of what she feels like, she up in her feelings. People, Ayanna Presley have severe alopecia and stuff, and with women as well as men, you don't, especially black women get dragged through YouTube all the time about their hair, but she has not been on the receiving end of that.
Right.
She has been one of the beautiful people, and this time it's just look like a little bit of bruised ego to me. But everybody got their own tailor-made infirmity.
So
Right, but the thing is,
Black Lives Matter until my ego is abused. Black Lives Matter until my wife loses self-esteem. Black Lives Matter until you make a joke about my sexuality. Black Lives Matter until.
but the thing is, it's not so much that Jada ego may have been bruised, because she's not the one that got up on the stage, and she didn't say anything to Chris from the audience. Will is the one that jumped up there and committed the act, and that's the bigger problem than Jada being upset. I mean, yes, there's jokes that Dave Chappelle may have said, and people individuals within the audience was upset about it, but as far as I recall, none of these shows anybody else jumped up and took it to Dave Chappelle or any of the other comedians, even non-comedians that try to get up there and crack a joke.
And bigger culture, I think, need to be told about why are men trying to dictate and put such pressure on this man about what he and that woman do in their bedroom. I understand that they invite her, but everybody talk about, is she honorable? Is she dishonorable? What he should have done. I think in the midst of, they invited the public in. But why did Will feel the need to have to buck up? I think he under a lot of pressure from men as to how he had to, at 50 years old, he should have better mechanisms in place. But the other conversation is why men trying to tell other men how to run their households, their bedrooms, and this and that.
So women are exempt from the influence that over Will in this situation?
I don't care what he do in his bedroom what they do in their bedroom.
You said men are responsible for.
I'm saying what I've heard men say regarding this situation about Jada. How the thing is out there in the atmosphere that he really upset about other issues. I think he's had a lot of pressure on him ever since the Red Table Talk, and that in addition to some stuff he grew up with, but the topic of why men feel the need to speak on and direct what other men do in their bedroom and how they handle their marriages and what is appropriate for what he should be doing with his wife, whether he should or it's just a whole big ball of wax that men are talking about on that man's marriage and what they do.
My question was, do you think the opinions that women have of manhood and what's an alpha man, a strong man, do you think that influences men to act like Will did as well as the opinions of men?
I think some deeper conversations need to be had on what we view across the board.
So that's not a yes or no to my question.
Restate the question again. I'm sorry.
My question is, you stated how the men making all their comments basically may have had a role in Will feeling need to buck up and go on, do what he did. I'm asking you, do you think the opinions that women, the expectations that women have of men, and the opinions women have about what's a good man, a strong man, an alpha man, a masculine man, do you think that would play a role too in making Will or any man buck up like that?
It depends on which woman you're talking about. I think a younger person in their 20s might see that as responsible. I think anybody with any age and maturity on them would not see or want Will to buck up in that way. I personally don't. And the people who have that point of view, that's their point of view. I didn't want to see him buck up in that way. I think
Yes.
a man that's in control of his emotions and would have done that a different way would have been more what I would have liked. I would say a strong man masters others, a truly wise man masters himself. I would have it's the time to fight. But that wasn't that situation to fight in. You know, if your children or your wife is being attacked or something, that's the time to fight. That right there was not deserving of hands,
I think
in
Will
my
Smith
opinion.
I think Will Smith or any man in that position I would have to say we would have to rationally conclude that he would be influenced by the opinions of men and women, not just one gender, especially since he's
Yes.
married to a woman with a Tupac
Right.
fantasy.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with you, Dr. Will. So I present this, right? Will, being a man in his 50s, if we were to go with he's feeling the pressure of all the people that's been talking and joking and commenting about his marriage, his wife, him, how he responds to things or don't respond, feeling the pressure. How do we as a society expect men, younger males, to respond under pressure when when a full black man, a full grown man in his 50s who has experienced many things, has come up in different ranks, and has reached a level and a degree of success that many would strive for and envy. If he crumbles under pressure, and we give them a pass for that, what are we saying to the younger men who are younger, who don't have the experience, who don't have the resources, and have not reached the level of success? What are we saying?
Well, as a person who was once married, and I'm gonna say once married, this ties into a lot of the dynamics that goes within a marriage, especially a marriage that you can obviously see from the inside that is failed or is failing or has failed. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes on when you're laying next to a person that you no longer trust, you no longer love, you no longer have that it for, and you're trying to hold on to something that the other person is obviously telling you, look, what we had ain't here, and I'm just here basically because you ain't got the balls to kick me out. And that right there puts a lot of pressure on you to the point where we've had people who have committed domestic violence on the other person. They have killed other people. They have lashed out on people outside of the house or in even the children. And yes, some people say that this situation is staged, but the facts remain: Will is in a marriage that he it seemed like he loves her, he doesn't trust her, but Jada is basically like, I'll leave when you tell me to leave, but I'm not going to leave my own. And this is what comes out of it. And then when you throw in the part about you get involved in threesomes, menage a trois, or open marriage, that right there is a whole totally different ball game that you're taking it into areas that is mentally and physically challenging. And I'll put an asterisk on that because we can always come back to that later.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure I didn't mute myself. You know, it's so much to this, which is why I felt it was important to bring this up and have this conversation. Everybody has an opinion, whether you're famous or not. Let's be honest. We all have an opinion about the relationships that we see with people around us. And we all have an opinion about, of course, our relationships of people that are celebrities, right? Because you know why? Most people look up to celebrities. Most people idolize celebrities. Most people are influenced by celebrities more so than what they are their own family, more so than what they are their own mothers and their own parents. People will fight and stand up a lot of times for the belief and an opinion of a celebrity than their own parents. So of course we all have an opinion. It's important that to me and for me, it's important that with our opinions, we bring some rationale with our opinion to help mold and influence things for a better situation and for better outcomes. Not what we expect, not just what we desire, but looking at a bigger picture.
Yeah.
I think
I think that, oh man, we got to remember we're watching television. Okay. Much of that is sponsored, scripted, produced by white folks. Okay. And I'm speaking as someone who spent more than half of their life in broadcasting. And I was a film major in school. And so I probably have more disdain for media than anybody you know, because I've seen the sausage made up close. I even ran a media company, so I participated in the manipulation. Okay, so I know how it works. There's a thing called a publicity stunt, and that's what that was. And we are very impressionable, we black people, and very, very gullible. And we
I
gotta
can
have a healthy amount of suspicion about everything we see on that box I call the white man's fantasy vision. Because
I
it's not
I
real. It's a
agree.
distortion of reality. It is a distortion of reality, including the news.
I agree because it's just really strange that this alopecia talk. I know they say she said it like 5 years ago or something, but it's really coincidental how that is literally what set it off. And the recent talking of it being brought up, the timing of it is suspicious. But as black people, our need to see the power couple at some point we got to say y'all can't be that power couple for us. Is it safe to walk away? And can't nobody tell nobody when to walk away from their marriage, but I think our need to see that representation is probably contributing to them wanting to be that. Oh, we're gonna be, we're gonna be not Jay-Z and Beyonce, but we're gonna be that one couple that needs it. And I think maybe we need to re-examine what we see as making it, how we view marriage success, and when to sometimes walk away, because sometimes the stigma we get as black people as walking away is not the same stigma that white people get. And I know we ain't concerned with them, but at some point they need to let their needs take precedence over the need of what the public sees.
I mean,
I
we
have a
good
I have
at
a
what?
quick question.
Go
What
ahead.
is this two parts? One, what is a power couple? And number two, why do we put that stigma on couples?
I,
Now, will give it a go.
I'm sorry, what is a power couple? It's we're talking about the seed of capitalism. Okay, so first of all, a power couple would have to be, and we're talking about post feminism. This movement towards feminism, equal rights for women. So it's a economically successful man and now a woman. So it would be a strong woman economically, commercially, as and joined with a man. So that would be a power couple. A woman amassing power, money, the way that a man would, but still being in a relationship with a man. And we know how difficult that is, to pull off.
The next person.
I think it's our desire to, because for so long the it word is two-parent household. We want to be the idea of the suburban dream, mother, dad, whatever. Maybe it was a time when we didn't have the resources or we couldn't get married or whatever. And we want to see that representation in Hollywood, and we want to see it everywhere. And I think we have some unrealistic expectations of what marriage is, the reality versus the Cosby Show view. And we're striving for that Cosby Show view without seeing the entire mess of what marriage really is. And we need healthy conversations about marriage. And a whole lot of topics that we want to have that Hollywood version of. Even within these spaces, how we negate people or put people down, the language we use, the respectability politics, and all of that. And all I'm gonna say about feminism, it's all feminism say is if me and you work at Burger King, we start at the same time, we make the same money.
But is it fair that we try to judge a marriage based on the male, the husband and the wife's perceived power, influence, and financial accomplishment and material acquisition?
I think a whole lot of conversations need to be had on a whole lot of stuff and what our perception of winning is, what our perception of a successful marriage is, and a whole lot of things. I think we look at the surface without looking at all the other stuff. Like, long as the house pretty on the outside, we all know that it's a whole bunch of mess all over everywhere in the inside, and we just want the outside, the house, the car, the kids, the garage, without knowing it's a mess brewing. And I think Jada and Will recently, since they've been talking about it, have let us know the mess that's brewing, and the mess that be brewing in a lot of marriages that we think or don't have the tools to really know how to address and talk about. Because I think it's a whole lot of people like, oh, the 60s was the good old days and the this and the that, and oh, back then, and black love. I think the stuff has always been messy and not healthy and dysfunctional. And we don't have those conversations.
Yeah, I know I can't let that stand. No, I don't think feminism can be reduced down to just men and women making the same if they're doing the same job. It has more to do with the argument that men and women are the same, and men and women are not the same. So we're different.
What do you mean the same?
But I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go sideways on it. I know you said I'm gonna move on. But I do agree with your point that we do have to have better conversations about marriage. I'm not married. My parents were divorced, but I was raised by some other family members and who later got divorced after I reached adulthood. So I've seen other good marriages. I've seen bad marriages. I've seen people stay together that maybe should have, separated, but I've seen people who stayed together, who chose to stay together despite the imperfections, because that's what they chose to do. So, I don't think there's an easy answer to. I mean, if Will Smith can't work it out inside of himself that he is with a woman who is attracted to all Tupac in one sense that's not like him, and this younger guy that's not like him, that she keeps finding other types of men that's not like him. If he can't find some way to date, to stay married to the woman who wants to date every man, then that's something inside of him he needs to fix and get out of there.
And women have the same thing. Women have the same issue. If I date a man and he married me, but he was dating Keisha, and we all know who them Keishas is or whatever, and I'm not that Instagram model, and that's what he used to date, and now we married, we could feel the same way. Those are just things that happen within relationships that we have to address. That goes on both sides.
But the difference here is, Coach Malik, is it's always coming up with Jada. It's not always coming up with Will.
Jada got the dick in the relationship. Let's just say it. Somebody got the 51%, and she got the 51%, and she got the dick in that relationship. And it's but it's not. But
and that's feminism.
But it's times when men have the dick in the relationship and they have the 51%. I don't say it's.
No, I'm saying women having the 51%. That's feminism.
But there are going to be times when it's going to be women have the 51% and times when the men have the 51%. And if you sit here and say that every time men should have the 51%, then that's problematic. That's each individual couple is their thing. But I always say men should have the 51% simply because we're men. No, sometimes women going to have it and sometimes men going to have it. In this particular case, she got it.
And that's for every individual.
And men are uncomfortable with women having that 51% at times, but it goes across the board.
And that's for every man to decide if he can be with a woman who's got 51% Okay, and so and that's that.
Sometimes I like you a little bit more than what you like me. Sometimes I'm enamored with this man more than he's enamored with me or this woman. It goes that way. And sometimes you find the balance.
I have a quick question. What is this 51% you're referring to?
The person who seems to, like, for example, if they were saying who got the dick in the relationship, that's just the way I put it. It seems like Jada has the more power in that relationship, that she may be more dominant than Will. And men are not comfortable with seeing that dynamic.
So are you saying that she is the man in the relationship?
I think Jada got the dick in that relationship.
I think most of us think that Jada got the dick in that relationship.
But it's also other relationships where it's it's the reverse, and the man seemed to be the dominant. And guess what? It's gonna go different ways because different people have different personalities. Some people are dominant, some are, and they find that balance. But it doesn't always have to be the man. And whatever works for those people, what works, but that's not working for them. It's not working. But to sit here and say that every time men have to have that in their relationship, I think people should do what makes their relationship work. And I think men
Who
have
sat
a
here and
problem.
said that? Who sat here and said that?
Didn't somebody just say that's the problem?
No, I said
the woman
that.
have the 51%.
I said that's what feminism is. It's not
And,
about
and 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 the way it came across, like feminism is a problem. Are you saying that
no,
this
it is the
feminism is a
problem. The way
problem?
it is going
Okay,
right
then.
now.
So
Yes.
you're saying that's what. So that's what I'm saying.
No, you can ask me, and I'll tell you what I'm saying about a specific thing. You don't interpret it, because no, I'm
Excuse
saying.
me. Wait. 1 second, guys. Let us remember that on this channel, we disagree and we debate respectfully. I don't want anyone to come across like we're being attacked and getting defensive and have to, feel like we got a counterattack and it becomes argumentative. And then all the messages that's being conveyed gets lost in the sauce of that. Okay?
Okay. Now, let me just say, I agree with Koja Malik. How do you pronounce your name?
It's Koja. You could just say Koja.
Koja.
Yeah.
I agree with your bottom line. I think there have always been relationships where a woman might have been, a little stronger, and a man may have been a little bit more reticent. That's always been the case. It's not necessarily the norm, but it's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way. But it's every person got to find who they fit with. Okay, so if there's a man that's okay, and we all know men that are married to women who make more, substantially more, and I know men who are largely happy in those relationships, but it's not without challenges, and those power issues come up. And because some of these men are very close to me, and I get some of the pissed off conversations with these men before they can, they blow off the steam before they can go talk to their wife in a more controlled way. So I know it's a thing, and I was raised in a house where a woman made more money than the man, and it came up. The issue came up. Enough. A car appeared outside after the man of the house says, "No, don't buy a car." But the woman of the house said, "I make the most money," and so the car arrived and stayed. Okay,
I'm not sure what the money dynamics of that was. Was she making like 6 figures and she like, well, I'm getting a car? Did they need? I don't know what their decision making process was.
The decision making process was to talk about it and agree, and principally it was a male led household until he made a decision that she didn't agree with. That's what it was.
I don't know what the financials of it are.
Well, she made more. I told you that. I mean, how much she made?
I can make more, but we cannot. A car is a big purchase. I can make more with my regular old average median income, and go and get in a car can put a strain on a thing. Even though you make more, it can still be a financial strain, as opposed to we can do this and it's not really a problem because we got it like that. We six figures, so me going to get in a car ain't that big of a deal. So it's a whole lot of dynamics that
Yeah,
that need
No,
to.
I mean it was a big enough issue that they had agreed that they would discuss those and agree on those bigger purchases like that. Okay, and so
right. That should be a
when they
conversation.
had the conversation, the answer was no, and she said, "Well, I'm gonna do it anyway unilaterally," and did
And
it.
then, and then that's when you got to make a decision also of how you're going to go forward and if you're going to go forward in the relationship,
And that
right?
relationship eventually ended.
And so, yeah, so we're talking about our ideas with power couples. I'm going to be honest. For me, my power couples were my grandparents. That's my power couple. My grandparents were my power couple. And but I get that a majority of people, I think it's a way of also people being conditioned to idolize celebrity couples. And what you see is success being someone else's measure for success, becoming your own measure instead of having your own idea of what success is. And being famous, being well known, making that the thing also to be a main factor in you being considered a power couple to a lot of people. And that's something that one of the things too that I don't like about the influence of society by celebrities, by Hollywood, by the industry. I personally, I don't like it. But I love everything that you guys have had to share on that. I would like you to, if you have anything else to say about that part, to go ahead and say that so that we can get into the staging.
Yes,
The
I
I got something to say. Unfortunately, too many people believe that money and material acquisition is going to put them mentally and sometimes physically in a much better world than what they're living in. Everybody, not everybody, that's not fair to say. You have a segment of people who believe that they're in a rut and maybe that next it or that next I've got is going to put them in a much better space. At the end of the day, a marriage, a relationship, child rearing is just that. It doesn't matter what kind of job you got, doesn't matter what kind of income you got coming in, doesn't matter how big your house is, doesn't matter how many cars you got in the garage. At the end of the day, you, your wife, and your children, if you have children, you're gonna have to deal with the human dynamics of being in that household. Um, Having $50 million in the bank doesn't stop you from having the power struggle that takes place within a relationship than if you had $50 in the bank. And when you try to explain that to people, people want to blow it off and just believe, well, if I make six figures, my life is I'm going to feel better about my life. When at the end of the day, no, it doesn't. Like I said, me being once married, it didn't matter how much money we had coming in. It didn't matter what my status was in the military. When that door closed, we had to deal with the ebbs and flow of being a husband and wife and having to deal with the ebbs and flow of trying to rear my son. And that stuff takes place no matter, like I said, if you got $50 million in the bank, if you got $50 in the bank, those dynamics you're not going to you're not going to run away from just because you got a little bit of extra money. So
I
that whole
agree.
crap about a pop, not based on y'all perspective, but I did ask that question. When I hear people talk about power couple, they don't see the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows and the push and pull that takes place within that marriage. So yeah, your status and all that kind of stuff, it has very little bearing on the marriage.
I agree with what you said. I don't. People have the same problems, regardless of money. Rich people like to go to Disney World. Jada and them kids would like to go to Disney World. My broke ass would like to go to Disney World. The only difference is they'll get put to the front of the line and they'll be able to buy more stuff. But we still have a lot of the same desires. Like when somebody say, "Oh, her Chloe kitchen got the same food in it that my kitchen have," because on some level we still all have the same problems. The only thing the money does is allow us to have more distractions. So I agree with that. You still, at the same end of the day, are a husband and a wife within that. You still deal with cheating, infidelities, decision making, whether it's your wife going out and buying a car or me going out and buying a multi-million dollar estate. It's just ratios. That's all, ratios, but same problems.
Dollar Will?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the what was the question?
No, I was just asking everyone to give their final comments on that part of the conversation, the power couple part of the conversation, so that we can move on to the staging if this was staged.
Yeah, it's I think it's natural. It's an if you are a quote unquote modern man or whatever, and I would consider myself, pretty modern. I don't think I'm not particularly traditional Judeo-Christian. Okay, so I'm not completely turned off to the idea of a modern woman with a job and a career pursuits and that type of thing. Now, that said, it's going to be some adjustments, some negotiation going to have to go on with, because you are a powerful couple. If you're successful in your career and you make enough money to live alone without the need of another person, and the woman makes enough money to live alone, and she can have a house, a car, and take a few trips a year, that's pretty powerful. And so you're not together out of economic need, and that's a new place in the history of marriage. Okay, and this first world economy we in. So that's a power couple, and you're gonna have to. It's gonna be some stuff you're gonna have to negotiate. Stuff gonna come up.
I was just going to add one last point to it. It doesn't matter if you're a power couple or not. When you're sitting in, your wife is telling you for the umpteenth time about this dumbass story about her and her father went fishing. You just got to sit there, suck it up, and roll with it. So that's just the ups and downs in the nuances of being married. Doesn't matter if you got a $200,000 Mercedes Benz in the garage or you pushing a Saturn. You got to sit there and hear your wife tell you for the umpteenth time about this damn fishing freaking story.
Yeah,
Everybody's got to go through it.
But also, if you married to a woman, you got a good career, she got a good career, she managing her debt, you managing your debt, there's going to be less to talk about with regard to money. And that's probably going to be fewer conflicts. But when one person's finances get out of control and affects the other, because you got resources in both people's names, like a house, that can affect the relationship. Until now, it's your business that she went out there and bought a car and a mink coat and some stuff she can't afford, because now that could come back on you, or vice versa if the man does something crazy economically. So it's a different. We gotta stop again. I don't know what I'm talking about. I ain't married, ain't never been married. But it just seems to me that the economic situation we living in today is something that our grandparents could never have imagined. And money matters, even in relationships. Money matters because women, the grandma was with granddad for totally different reasons. Okay, this thing was not as much about love as to the degree that we want to make it. Survival was a much bigger part of that motivation to be together. And men and women don't need each other no, they don't need to be together with one another for survival reasons. We need to be with each other for emotional reasons and psychological reasons, but not for economic reasons. And that changes the way that men and women function inside of these relationships. Power couple is going to work a little different than a couple where they need those two incomes. And if somebody loses income, they might have to move into their mom and them's house. That's a completely different thing. So you got emancipated, free Jada, equal Jada, with powerful will, and in her expression of her power, sexual freedom, and all of that. It really has got to deal with some stuff with that, or men today have to deal with stuff that our grandfathers did not have to deal with.
But Will has his entanglements also. They just were not as public because he had his friends and even Mendez's too. But in the past, women were expected not to have hers. So Jada having hers and having hers publicly was a different dynamic. But men who have had resources have always had their women. It's just that women can do the same. And we do have to realign the world from a thing where women had to be with men for survival, and maybe those men didn't have to be the nicest men, or they didn't have to consider their wives' needs and stuff, to a situation now where nobody has to stick with you like you're a magnet just to survive. And now we have to develop those other skill sets, and we have to be nice, because my wife ain't staying with me like grandma stayed with granddaddy because she needed him. Now I have to be more present and more attentive to her needs, and vice versa. Whereas before, women just had to be more attentive to what the man needed. So it is a switch.
And Cody,
And
we are very close in our view of this. And I just want to add one little thing, is that men, we can't be expected to evolve so fast. Women made a
yes, we
change,
can.
and women made a change. No, because we're talking about this feminism thing that happened in one lifetime, my lifetime. So anything that happens within your lifetime and my lifetime, you can't expect humans to change that fast. You're talking about thousands of years of the role of men and women being a certain way, good, bad, or whatever you think
But
about it. It was a
the
certain way, and men will evolve, and relationships will evolve to something else. It won't look like anything in the past. And the traditionalists,
the
the Judeo-Christians, they got to get to that, because we
the
got to create a whole
Judeo-Christian
new
has
thing.
some very dangerous, ugly history that we don't want to talk about. And if we saying we got to take that, if we came
I
back
never
here and
said
say, oh, slavery only ended a couple of 100 years ago, it's been thousands of years and this and that, and we have to take time, you would be like, no way. We have to
taking time
speed
does
this
not. When I
up.
said take time, Koja, I was not saying justifying anything. I was saying it's going to take time for us. For time is moving forward. We are changing. This
But
conversation that men are having about what is the role, purpose, value of marriage for us, given the change in women, that's part of the change.
But what changes are men willing to do? Because some of those things needed to change, because what was in the past, everything was not great with men. And seems like a lot of men are trying to hold on to some not great characteristics and actions, and saying this the way it was, and we want to hold on to it, but they were never good to be held on to anyway. It's what we did to survive, and we cannot hold on to that and change at the same time. It's definitely some conversations need to be had, and what needs to be given up that was never good.
And that's something that has to happen. People have to decide what's important to them in a relationship. And what they really want, and that's going to be everybody that's getting involved to be responsible for having those conversations and making choices as best they can with that with their value, and trust that they have the conversation. What worked for me and what I value what's important to me may not be the same as what's important to Culture Malik. What's important to Jack may not be the same thing that's important to Dollar Will. And so there's no cookie cutter. When it comes to that, there will be no cookie cutter. There'll be no mold for this. You are the mold. Men, no matter what feminism and women's rights, no matter what, don't matter any of that. At the end of the day, at the end of every movement, no matter what, men had the responsibility of being who they were going to be and doing what they were going to do and standing by what they wanted to stand by and fight what they wanted to fight for, regardless to whatever women were saying or women were doing. Period. Women, by the same token, no matter resources or whatever, women always had a choice of whether or not they was going to stick it through with a man for how long, why, or why not, and what they were going to do. That never was not a thing. When we begin to generalize it and put it all together in one lump sum and make it seem as if it was all, no, it was all by design by this gender. It was all by design and by the course of reaction of this gender, by this way. No, individually, we all always had a choice. Individually, we will always.
I think in the past, women didn't have a choice because it was out of, if I let this man leave, I'm not going to be able to eat because he's the breadwinner, which I don't never know none of them families like that. Because where I'm from, even back in those days, my grandma days, even my mama, sister in them days, the men was in the field. The men was pulling the corn and the women was packing it on the mule train. So I see somebody down there saying, if the world, in the comments, if the world flipped upside down, those desk jobs would not matter. Most men today, a lot of men, not most, but a lot of men can't even catch and clean a fish. Don't know how to skin a catfish. So when they talking about them survivalist skills and they saying it's not just a man thing, and we get into these conversations like the man got to be the builder to protect the nigga. You don't build. You call the contractor to build a house. What is you talking about? But we try to mix a lot of old, like we carry around that 1980 cell phone, 1990 cell phone that's big and try to apply it to today's dynamics. We're not living the same. So the rules and the parameters are not going to be exactly the same. And if you insist on carrying that early 1990 cell phone around, it doesn't fit today's dynamics. And so trying to fit old stuff on today's new stuff is not going to be an exact fit.
But building still does exist. The building takes place within the household. You're building the betterment of your children or children, so you can prepare them for adulthood, and also you're building on your marriage, your relationship with your spouse. That's where the building really takes place. And everyone wants to talk about the building a house and building a business and all that kind of stuff, and they all seem to forget about the most important part of being a spouse and being a parent. And like I said, that's the building within the four walls, and building within yourself also.
I use social media as a way to look at stuff. Let's look at the old Terrell Owens is in his 50s. Let's go look at his life. And they claim the era of back then, what his parents grew up in, was the golden era that we should ascribe to. Terrell Owens lived across the street from his daddy, who was married, who he didn't know was his daddy, but he was finna try to talk to his sisters. What kind of functional household was that T.O.'s sisters them lived in and his wife lived in, that his grown ass daddy had got a young girl across the street pregnant? And those are the times that we romanticize without having full and complete conversations about the past and what it was and what it looked like without over romanticizing it.
Okay, but what generation doesn't romanticize about the past? My mother was born in 1940. And from time to time, I've heard her romanticize about my grandmother's years, and she was born in 1920. Gen X is going to romance about what happened back in the days. The millennials, they're going to romance going backwards. The next generation. It seems like it's just human
No,
nature.
I'm grown enough to have the complete adult conversation right now when we take away the flowers and really get down to the meat, because we want the Hollywood version of what life ain't, instead of really addressing the truth of the matter and the dysfunction that has existed and the over romanticization of marriage and what it exists, and still trying to pull those old things and put with this new stuff. We need to eat the meat and spit out the bones, and we need to really get clear about what functional is, because we didn't all have great examples of that. And I think the majority of stuff was really prettied up without being realistic about what existed in the past, and we cannot move forward if we're not going to be realistic.
But that's human nature. All of us humans like to romance about the past, and it has always been long argued that when we look in the past, a lot of times we look at the good stuff. And
selective memory.
My grown butt can look at the bad stuff too.
Hold up. Because like I said, my grandma was born in 1920, and growing up, I've heard her romance about what was confusing on my end was I would hear her romance about back in the days, but then I also remember her telling me the stories about how bad it was growing up in the South during those times. But as I got older, I learned that, yes, that's just the way that humans do it, and that Hollywood has made billions upon billions of dollars romancing about the past. I mean, how many movies? Sheesh! How many kind of romanticized movies they have of the Vietnam War? I don't think there's too many people that was involved in the Vietnam War sees it as romanticizing. But that's just the way humans are, and that's just the way Hollywood is, and that's the way music is.
But in these spaces, having the real conversations is based on that. And I hear so many times, literally, I'm like, nigga, stop going to TV for all your daily references. Now get out yourself. Number one, what you saw growing up was a child's view. So you really don't have an accurate perception, because if I, as a mother, am doing my job, and as a father, I'm not really letting my children see everything. So people grow up and they don't realize, okay, you was looking at through your little children eyes. You cannot bring all of that and thinking you know the whole story. And we cannot keep not looking at the realism.
But social media is a segment of people's escape mechanism.
Then I say it's time to put down the escape mechanism, the rose-colored glasses, and get real. And if you cannot, as a grown 40, 50-year-old person, do that, and you keep going back to that, it's problematic. I could be a whole grown woman and sit up here and say the good, the bad, and the ugly, and have the real conversations, but people are not having the real conversations. They're still going back in the days, it was this, or women this and this and that. No, we got to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly and have the real conversations, and I could do that as a grown woman.
Well, then the objective is we need to be able to accomplish that in the real world, and then maybe we can tackle this in this virtual world.
Right.
But they're both, the real and the virtual, sharing the same spec of time. So it's going to be both, and we always caught between the past and the future. So that's just what it is. And the past is the only completed book we got. So, but we can't go back. So that's just the thing. So whether we agree, like it or not, we always going to evolve and adapt to something slightly different from the past.
And we're going to always use the past in comparison and in contrast to what is current. Right. We do it in everything. Relationships are not going to be exempt from being used when we use the past with everything.
Right. If I come in the door and I keep hitting my head when I walk in the door, I'm going to learn to duck.
and the rules and laws we have on the book about marriage, they're going to evolve too, because we're kind of in between two worlds where we have the modern woman. She wants everything, anything that she can imagine that's like equal to a man or whatever. But
What
then
are
at the
those things?
let
Can
me
you
let me let
specifically
please let me
say
please
what
let me
they
please
are?
let me please let me finish my point of view. And then but then at the same time, she wants all the rights and privileges that grandma had, and so we're kind of between two worlds, and it's the reaction from men is necessary to create the discourse which we're having, and over time we'll strike a balance, and both sides will get what they need, and we'll even create the laws and the court systems and court laws about child support and all that other stuff, and divorce laws. All that stuff will evolve too.
Baby, let me say this here. What I'm gonna tell you about that system, which I don't know, we have a lot of states that's no fault states. That mean, like in Florida, if me and you marry, you could bring your girlfriend up in our bedroom, in our husbandly and wifely bedroom, and will not impact how the assets are divided in a divorce. That's called no fault divorce. And when you
I have
go
a
about
question.
alimony and things like that, that would come in a situation where you insist on that 1960s view where the women don't work, because where women work and y'all making pretty much the same money, there is no alimony because you make the same. And when you go talk about you've been together for 6 years and y'all bought a house, unless that house have equity in it, you ain't dividing nothing but a mortgage and to say who we either I could buy you out or you could buy me out. We could say this house is now valued at 280,000. When we bought it, it was valued at 200,000. That means 80,000 in equity. Now I can pay you 40,000 of that equity and keep it in my name, or vice versa. Or if we can't come to an agreement, the court will force us to sell it. So a lot of people are talking about things they actually have no knowledge of. They're going by what they heard instead of what the law is.
I have a
And
question,
because of
madam.
that,
Madam, have you been married?
yes, I have. I'm married right now. And I'm going to tell
Have
you
you?
how this modern day
Wait a minute.
thing
Wait a minute. Wait a
works.
minute. Wait a minute. Have you been divorced?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you experience any of the splitting the assets?
Baby, we ain't had nothing to split.
Okay.
So
Thank
that
you.
made it very
All right.
easy. But
Next person, please.
I'm married right now. And
My
we
first
do
cousin,
have
My
property.
first cousin got divorced in the state of Florida. He had a house before the marriage, married the woman. She went away for a number of years. She came back. The law said that if she stayed, how is it, 7 years, 8 years? There's some line, some period of time. If she
Short
stays,
term marriage, mid moderate marriage, and long term
okay,
marriage. Long term is over 17 years.
okay,
And yes,
okay.
that's why
But let
people
me let
need
me
to
finish.
get
Let me finish my
divorced.
point. Let me finish my point. That if she was still married to him on, let's say it's 7 years, on that seventh year, then she would have been entitled to half of the equity of that house, which is almost paid for, which she paid not one penny toward.
But that is the reason why people should not stay married on paper. I would never be separated from someone. That because lack of knowledge of the law.
And that's
I
all I'm
would
saying. The
never,
law has
I'm
to
saying,
evolve.
I would
That's all I'm
know
saying.
when you separate from somebody, you don't go 4, 5 years and not divorce them. At a minimum, you file for a legal separation, which pauses things at that moment. But if you don't have a knowledge of the law and if you go and the court and you're accused of a crime and you take a plea bargain, even though you ain't guilty and you don't fight it, that's your lack of knowledge of the law. That's not one-sided. I would never. And when I see people still married on paper, I'm like, that person can consent to pulling the plug on you. You're steady developing assets and equity that if y'all stayed together for 10 years, they're entitled to. But that's your lack of knowledge of the law and your laziness about not going ahead and filing for the divorce. You could even get a divorce if you don't even know what a person at. You
It's
could
not
file for the
laziness.
divorce.
If the
Yes,
courts
you
are on the
can.
side, if the courts are not
No.
objective, the courts are on the side of the woman.
Excuse
Okay.
me. If you agree to something without knowledge of the law and you agree to it, because that's like even with child support call you in there and say, hey, can you pay this? And you say, yeah, that's what you're gonna pay. You could go to court. It's a whole formula online that tell you what you're supposed to pay. Most courts start out with the minimum of time sharing at every other weekend if y'all live close to each other, weekdays and other stuff incorporate, so it's almost at 40-60. And if you choose to fight from that point, you can get 50-50 if you live in the same area. Now, should you choose not to hire an attorney and go forward with that, that's on you.
Kojo.
But it's not because that's the law.
Okay.
One
Okay,
question,
excuse-
Kojo. Rainy one,
excuse me.
just one question, please, Rainy one. Then I'll be done with this. I promise.
Come
Kojo,
on,
my
Judge
question-
Judy, get a handle of this.
No, just one. This is going to be done. I'm going to stop on this. Kojo, all I'm asking, do you agree? Or my point was very simple, is that relationships are changing. It seems that you agree with that, and I'm saying that the legal framework of the society has to change along with it. That's all I'm saying.
You can't have this argument with me because I spent over $10,000 and some dollars going to establish paternity and almost lost custody of my daughter. So you can't have this argument with me. I had an ex-husband that had custody of his 2 daughters in the 90s. So you can't have this argument with me in the state of Florida.
I'm asking you, do you agree that the laws need to evolve?
I'm saying you don't know the law. The laws have evolved. I'm saying you don't know the law.
I'm not responding yes or no to that. I'm not speaking
I'm
to what you're saying
the
about
laws
people.
are not what you think they are, and your lack of knowledge of the law is probably the problem.
Okay, so the lead attorney is a divorce attorney. We got other attorneys on YouTube, so they all misinformed about the law too.
Excuse me.
Why he ain't practicing law? Why he a YouTube star?
Okay, so we're getting off the path. So I've muted everybody because we're getting off the path. All right. Everyone's making some good points and sharing some very good perspectives and opinions, but we're getting way off the path. This ain't about any of us. This is about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett and their relationship and their influence on the world and celebrities. This ain't about me. This ain't about you. It ain't about Herman Carter in the chat room. It ain't about Dollar Will, Koja, Jack. It ain't about us. We're here to give our perspectives on the said couple that have brought all of this under scrutiny with their actions. They're the ones that we are, if anybody's under attack, they're the ones that we're all attacking them. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Love you.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, sweet, it's okay.
Okay, the thing was staged.
Yes, let's please talk about that because here's what I want to know. Because I do believe that it is absolutely possible. And whether it's staged or not, what it's giving off image-wise and message-wise, to me, is still critical and worthy of conversation. But I'd like to know from your perspective, Dollar Will, first because you brought it up, and then others, if it is staged, if it was staged, what was or is the payoff? And what would be the reason behind staging?
To make money. This is Hollywood.
They're
We're watching. They always want more. They have to stay in the spotlight, keep things going. Characters, actors like Will Smith, they have to rebrand themselves in different ways to make themselves relevant. Any drama, all publicity is good publicity. Okay, that's the Hollywood machine. Drama. And they got to compete with YouTube drama. So they have to go over the top and do stuff. But that event was staged. To me, I think that was staged. One, this is the Source Awards with Tupac and Suge Knight and Biggie and them was decades ago. You can't go out there and slap somebody. They got security. They got police at these events. You never saw a police officer or security guard enter the frame.
I think it was the
That
L
was
for
one.
black
That was
men.
one. That was one clue. Second clue. Human beings have not some of us, all of us, have a flight or fight response mechanism in us to protect ourselves. Chris Rock had his hands behind his back. Will Smith walked up to him. Chris Rock never removed his hands from behind his back. Will punch, slap, whatever, Chris barely didn't even really take a step back. He never raised his hands up to protect his face. Even if you don't want, if you want to fight, you will raise your hands up to fight, and you may or may not throw a punch. If you don't want to fight, you might cover your head and duck, and you'll move away. Chris Rock did neither. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't step back. These are involuntary things that humans do. If you're in a car crash, your hands are gonna come up to cover your face to protect your brain. We're wired that way. So he did neither. And then Will Smith turned his back and walked away. We don't do that. You don't turn your back on somebody who could be harming you. It was so scripted. Men generally don't slap men. We punch one another. So a friend of mine sent me the tape. Within 10 seconds, I sent it back. I said that was staged. And we got a room full of actors who do this for a living. And the fact that we're so unwilling to believe that it's not staged, or we give them the benefit, Hollywood, the whole lie machine, that's Hollywood. We give them the benefit of the doubt of being being honest. And it's a room full of trained actors. Will Smith was trained to box and how to make a punch look real in that Muhammad Ali movie. He was trained by professional boxing trainers. Of course, he's going to know how to do that. That thing was staged. Chris Rock still had that smile on his face, smirk, actor. Also, there's a timing in acting, and when somebody say a line, you wait a beat, and you say a line. Chris Rock's response was too well paced. It was right in sync when he said, "Wow, I just got the shit slapped out." It was perfect. It was too perfect. It wasn't naturally human. We lose our cool like when somebody come up and slap you like that. And again, the fact that nobody ran out there, even when Will Smith was hollering, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth," no security showed up in the frame. You got a room full of people. Security has to make sure that there's no riot. There's going to be some police or security presence. It was scripted.
I want to say this concerning that whole incident. Pro-blackness is for sale. Masculinity is for sale. Femininity is for sale. So when I get around folks and they start talking that pro-black and pro this and pro that, I get to walking, because I wouldn't say all, but you have a good number of people. You put a couple of dollars in front of them, they will sell themselves out very quickly. The same thing, we have people that jump on these reality television shows. These people come from nowhere and they will return to nowhere, but they will rather sell themselves, commit crimes, assault, all kind of stuff on national television, get their couple of dollars, and then go back to their humble lives and have to reap the consequences. Everybody, that's not fair for me to say. We have a segment of people, they will do whatever they feel that they want to do, but then go back to believing that everybody else should accept their actions and consequences. And that's on us. we have now crossed a path that we're no longer going to be able to salvage, because if Will Smith and Chris Rock was willing to sell their blackness, sell their principles for a couple of dollars,
What does
that
pro-black got to do
just
with anything? As a pro-black, neither one of those guys are particularly when when you talk about people in what
They
we call
not blackity
pro-black,
blackity black.
right,
okay,
pro-black movement. I'm not calling them sellouts either. I'm just saying where did that come from in this
didn't Jada make a big fuss a couple of years ago about not having black representation at the Oscars?
That's the irony of it, is that this
Oh, okay. I'm
Oscars,
sorry.
they
I
used
misunderstood
all
what you meant.
black
Gotcha.
people, and and I know we shouldn't care, but the image that's gonna be out there is that you did protest that, and now within this Oscars was basically all black. You had Beyonce, you had, didn't they say this guy Will Packer, who they say was black? I don't know.
Yeah, he's
But you
black.
had all those dynamics, and they could say, niggas, this what y'all do? Not that we should care, but that's what's going to be the image out there. And they're going to say, you can't take these niggas nowhere. Not that I care, but that's what the white people finna be saying. Not that we should be caring, but that's the image that's going to be out there.
Right, because we had the Richard Williams movie that someone won an Oscar for it. Will Smith won an Oscar. Samuel L. Jackson won an Oscar. So it's like, wait a minute now. A lot of these people, they've made all this fuss over the years about not, lack of black representation, and we have this one show where there was quote unquote representation, and y'all two resort to this type of nonsense, even if it was staged.
It increased the ratings. I don't even really watch the Oscars, but there are a lot of people that don't even watch it. They saw this clip, and so this is what Hollywood does: promotion.
And that's what I said about the pro-blackness is for sale.
And I ain't gonna watch it. And the only thing who made money off of me is YouTube, because I did watch the clips on YouTube because somebody brought it to me. I don't watch them.
So
what's the difference, Jack Spade? What's the difference between when you said pro-blackness is for sale? What's the difference between saying blackness is for sale versus saying pro-blackness is for sale?
Because you have blackness, you have respect and representation of blackness, but then you have the people that tries to go that one step up, the ultra blackness. That's the pro-blackness.
Well, then this is not pro-blackness then, because I'm pro-black. This ain't it. You just that don't have nothing to do with none of this, because pro-black folks ain't going to run around no Oscars talking about we need to be more represent. We the real ultra black folk you talking about, they don't talk about that stuff. Not concerned with that stuff. So I mean, that dog ain't in this fight, man.
Okay, so is there a certification program to become pro-black? Be certified as being pro-black, or is anybody?
It's whatever you think. Whatever you think when you say ultra. I mean that. This ain't ultra. This is common, everyday, middle of the road black folks working in the middle of the road industry of Hollywood. Very assimilated black folks. This is not pro-blackness.
But Dollar Will, if I may.
Yes.
That was Jack Spade's perspective and his opinion about.
Well, I was just asking for clarification on it. Then he asked me, is there a test for pro-black? And I was just responding to that. I'm just trying to get understanding. So I have to ask him about his opinion and sort of so that we can have understanding. It's because in these YouTube streets, there's people when every third person will say pro-black, and I don't necessarily know what they mean. So I have to ask them. Because that word has been come out, it's like this euphemism now for whatever people mean. I have to ask them because it's this catch-all bag,
right?
That black folks are using, and I think that's dangerous. That everybody that's committed to whatever your personal definition of extreme or extra or ultra is, that's pro-blackness. So I have to ask the person, what do you mean in your case, so I can understand what you just said.
Right. But then I think that when he or anyone gives their opinion or their definition or their meaning of it, you can't really say, well, no, that's not what pro-black is, because pro-black, in my opinion, pro-blackness as well as like it has the same can be rendered to the same comparison like sexy. Like it's each own definition, each own opinion. What I think is what's sexy for me may not be sexy for another woman. What is um what is wifely to me may not be wifely to another woman. So when it comes to pro-black, being pro-black, that could have different levels as well. So what's pro-black? What I mean by pro-black may not mean what someone else means by pro-black. It's not like there is a one size fit all criteria lining up a requirement to say, okay, this is what qualifies as being pro-black.
And that's the necessity for communication, because we have to build a consensus about what things mean and how we're categorized and stuff. And you only get there through dialogue, and everybody's opinion matters, mine as well as his.
Okay, that's the point. That's the point that I was trying to bring out, is because, okay, so we have a segment of people, they'll jump in front of a camera and they'll start the same thing I just said about the, black representation. We need this, blah, 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 blah. And then you have a situation that occurred a couple of nights ago where you have two black men. If it was staged, it was staged. If it was a serious, realistic act, get in front of national television and basically embarrass the perception of blackness, embarrass the perception of manhood, the perception of being responsible for, if they did it for a couple of dollars, they, it's like you basically just sold yourself out.
Well, we had a word for that long ago. People don't like that word. That word was cooning.
Ooh.
That's what cooning was. So, but we don't like to use that word no more.
Because that cooning is basically on the same level as calling someone Uncle Tom, because your feelings, not yours, but if someone's feelings is hurt, they want to issue out the cooning and the Uncle Tom when it doesn't even fit the descriptor.
Correct. That's why we got back to why we have to discuss these terms as time evolves and people take these terms and kind of do what they want with them. And the meanings of these words get distorted over time, and we have to go, wait, what was that? What did you mean by that word? Yeah, that's all. And I don't know, maybe we're the same age, maybe not. Maybe we grew up in different parts of the country, because some of this stuff is regional. There's not just one singular black culture in America. And when YouTube and social media put us all together, and we got different, words for things. Like, somebody, whether it was either here or some other show, they were talking about the term joning. I'm like, yep, that's what I grew up with in my area. But some people call it playing the dozens or something else, or ranking or whatever. Anyway, there's always going to be a need for us to talk about what words mean, because of age differences and regional cultures and different things like that, and political views and whatever.
Well, one thing about it, we always being watched. So one thing about it, good, bad, and different, we always going to be watched. But the conversation, I guess, is more important among ourselves. Our perception does matter to other people, but we have to talk about what it means amongst ourselves.
Right.
And I'm gonna get out because the beach looking real good. I'm trying to get over to the beach, and I'm gonna listen to you all from the clouds. Thank you, Rainin.
You can't be coming on here telling us that you near a beach.
I'm in Florida, ass backward Florida, so I'm going to the beach.
Well, I'm actually getting ready to wrap this up anyway. So before you go, Coach, do you have any final thoughts regarding Jada and Will, and what you would like people to take away from this in a positive way?
I think that we need to look at them and examine what we think of marriage, what a successful marriage is. The fact that he needs to sit on somebody's couch before he blow up on some real stuff if this wasn't staged. I enjoy having the conversation with the men here. And if y'all got channels, I would definitely check you all out.
Thank you, Coach Malika. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great day.
You
Thank you.
too. Enjoy the beach. Dollar Will, you have any final comments as well to take us out about this whole fiasco, and would you like people to take away from this in a positive manner?
Yeah, I think that we need to be mindful of for external forces, controlling us. And media is a big one. Between nothing's bigger than outside of your home, what you learn with your parents and your family. You have the school system and you have media. Okay, and so we have to maintain a healthy skepticism about everything we see in media, especially, and we can't ever turn that filter off. We have to be in control of our thoughts and our values, and we have to guide the evolution of our culture, and within that, of course, that includes marriage and these definitions of man and woman and high value man and high value woman and whatever else, terms where we want to rank and stratify. We have to have our own definitions about that and not feel like we need to apologize if our definitions are different from the broader basically white society.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming up as well, Dollar Will. Be seeing you around.
All right, thank you. Peace out,
Jack,
Jack Spade.
Peace out. All right. So my last point. So
yes, Spade,
as
bring
I've
some.
as I've mentioned before, I was married for 7 years. It didn't end the way I wanted. I wanted to last a heck of a lot longer, but it was time to cut things loose. But one of the things I enjoyed about being married is the experience of learning something that I couldn't learn about myself, learning about other people as being a single person. The challenge of trying to work as a team and working towards common goals. I enjoyed it because it was a challenge that I felt that I had to be able to accomplish. But like I said, it didn't work out between the two of us, and that's just the way it is. I mean, there's just so many different dynamics that takes place in a marriage. You're gonna have that petty power struggle. You're gonna have the finances. You're gonna have the children. Just all these different type of dynamics that takes place within a marriage that I think is beautiful. It's eye opening. And you have those that are able to make it through to the end, and you have those like mine. It just came to an end. Last point. One thing I try to discuss with my son and his now wife. I think they've been married 2.5 years, somewhere in that ballpark range. Maybe 3 years, somewhere around there. Because I knew that he was going in the military. I talked to them about some of the wacky stuff that goes on in the military, like the threesomes, sexual escapades. And I told them, I says, look, you're going to have your own struggles just dealing with the marriage and the military itself. Once you start introducing all this side stuff that has no benefit to the marriage whatsoever, just be prepared that it may end. I said, if the two of you have trouble, do not try to bring that type of stuff in it, because it's not going to make it better. It's going to eventually make it worse, because when you get into those type of deals, as always, you're going to have one person that's going to be into it more than the other. And you may get to a situation where I think has happened between Will and Jada. Will was down with it. Jada was down with it. Will got older and his priorities changed, and he may have kind of let up on it, but Jada was still 100% good to go. And you had the August thing on top of all the other stuff that was taking place with their open marriage, and this is the thing that pretty much sent it over the head. Me, because the type of person I am, I got a chip on my shoulder, and when I say I'm done, I'm done. I would have been just let Jada go. Like, look, you're not bringing sanity to my life, and unfortunately, I think Will's has gotten to the point where he's just not man enough just to pull the trigger. Hey, it is done between us. I love you, but I've got to let you go for my own sanity. And that's my closing point.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Am I still okay? I had to make sure that I was not muted. You know, I want to reiterate that it is not okay for you to assault someone because you are offended by a joke. Your insecurities, your esteem issues, things that's going on in your life, those are your responsibilities. The emotions behind them, those are all your own responsibilities. No one owes you anything because of that. No one owes you any extra sensitivity to that, especially when it comes to entertainment. Also, I would like to reiterate that the world is a stage. We don't know, honestly, everyone has an opinion if it was staged or not. Whether it was staged or not is irrelevant when it comes to the messages that it sends off and the images that it puts out there. Okay, so ladies, if you are someone that you have security issues around your hair, if you're balding or anything like that, I would advise you to do what you need to do to build up your confidence in that area, in any area, right? Um, don't put men in a position to feel like when someone just says something, they have to protect you because someone said something. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. Words do hurt. No, they do. Words do hurt, but they don't endanger you. Men, I really believe, especially black men, because this was a situation between black men, you have to really begin to assess a situation and whether or not there is immediate danger, if there is an immediate threat, before you thrive into protect and defend mode. Also, you have a right to defend yourself when someone assaults and or attack you. You have a right to defend yourself. So everybody keep your hands to yourself, man. If you can't take a joke, stay home. Stay home. If you're afraid of ridicule and critique, and you're very fragile to it, get off social media. Don't become a public figure. Of any kind. Just don't do it. But whether you are a public figure or not, unless you stay in your home behind walls 24 hours, 7 days a week, you literally do not leave your space, you are going to come under some sort of critique, commentary, and or ridicule at some point in your life. That's just a fact of life, okay? So you're going to have to build some thick skin, and where you lack thick skin and where things are really a serious issue that causes like an emotional or mental or even spiritual trauma, there is therapy, there is counseling, there are books for that. The answer does not lie in violence. Okay, so I am grateful for everyone that came up: Donald Will, Jack Spade, Koja Malik, and JT, the #1 grinder. They all had some wonderful opinions and perspectives. I loved hearing all of them. Please take everything in consideration for your own growth, improvement, and life. And of course, y'all know we're going to rock it on out with some music. I'm going to bring back in the violin hip hop to take us out. I want to thank everyone in the chat, Our Heart, Grit, and Grind, Herman Carter had not seen him in a while. King Phoenix was new. Welcome. Celine came through. See, over the technician was late, but he showed up. I'm being sarcastic. We here. Who else? Let me go through. I said Celine, Monster, Moshe, Alonzo, Paul, the All Star. Anyone else? I believe that's everyone that came in and caught the live and was in the chat room. Oh no, and Donna just being real as well. So thank you. Yeah, I did go in on Jada early, and she's still Jada, you're still a bald-headed witch around here. Okay, you're still bald-headed and you still have an ugly heart. And I still think that you need to fold your red table and go sit at the kitchen table and just sit down for a while. Okay, I do. I'm sick of you. At this point, I'm sick of Will. Okay, I'm sick of all of you. But you know, I am. All y'all, your kids too. All y'all go have several seats somewhere and don't get back up. Just go sit down. Okay, but it ain't always about you. We don't want it to always to be about you. Okay, all right. Thank you guys. Let's rock out with the violin.